Hey, what do you know? This is episode 77. And today, episode 77, it's pretty, I would say, is pretty intense. Um, the reason why it's pretty intense is because I think today we just received, um, in terms of news, I think it's one of the news that we have been trying to avoid, if I may say that. It's a news that we hope that would not happen, but it is inevitable and it is going to happen. And so the news and the whole thing behind that is just not positive. And I just want to kind of take you to that and say that let's see what's the plan here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to transit over to a video um, which shows the announcement today, and take a look at this. All right.
We have just heard our second quarter GDP figures. To put things in context, this is our worst quarterly performance on record. The forecast for 2020 essentially means the growth generated over the past 2 to 3 years will be negated. The numbers reflect the impact of COVID-19, as well as deeper forces reshaping the global economy and our position in the global value chains. I know that some are still hoping for a quick recovery and a return to the familiarity of the old normal. The painful truth is this: we are not returning to a pre-COVID-19 world. Recovery will still be some time yet, and the recovery is not likely to be smooth.
Now, so here's something that I think we all need to wake up to, and the reality is that we are definitely not going to go back to the pre-COVID-19 world. So the old normal, if you like, right? The way that we have always been doing things, that is definitely not going to happen. Now, the question isn't so much about when it's that normalcy going to resume, but the question should be, what does the new normal looks like?
We can expect recurring waves of infection and disruption. Furthermore, recovery will be uneven across sectors. Some sectors will progressively recover, while others will be permanently changed.
So the reality, of course, is that many industries will be forever changed. The way that we have been doing things, the way that we have always been taking things for granted, like, for example, I've said this many times before, the idea of doing a face-to-face training, it's something that is going to be of the past. Now, really moving forward, we have to reimagine the way training is done. So, for example, today I was in a meeting, and this gentleman was saying that the training that we are designing, it's predominantly a hands-on practical training. And so when he heard that I was suggesting that we are going to do it in an online manner, two things, right? Number one is that there is that resistance that, well, if you're going to conduct it online, people are going to do a screen capture of your courses and they are able to resell that. and undermine what you're doing. Now, second thing is that the resistance came from the fact that this is a very hands-on course. So moving it to an online way, wouldn't that kind of negate the entire purpose of the course itself? And my point is that, well, gentlemen, you really have to rethink and relook and re-examine if this is really going to be the case. If this is something that we can still continue doing, because the reality of it is that it is not. And so to plan as if that normalcy will return, that we will be able to do face-to-face trading like what we used to do in the good old days, that is never going to happen, or that is not going to happen in the way that we see it to be. And there are definitely certain industries that we know that is forever going to change because of COVID-19.
We have to start now to build a new economy and to create more and better job opportunities for our people. We cannot wait for COVID-19 to blow over. Let me explain.
So the call to start now and not to wait till COVID-19 is done, or when the dust settle, then we're going to move out. The idea of doing that and the possibility of doing that is just not ideal, because the truth of the matter is right now every country, it's racing to reopen and to restart their economy. And the later and the slower you restart your economy, the further back you would decline. And in that respect itself, what's going to happen is that it's going to put us in a very, very disfavorable situation whereby you are definitely going to see that while you're waiting for the dust to settle, or while you are waiting naively for the old normal to return, people are going to move ahead. So the question to you, really, my friends, is that what is it that you can do right now and not wait? What is it that you can do right now to leverage the resources that you have, to leverage the expertise that you have, to leverage the technology that you have? And that's why I cannot emphasize enough that watching certain trend and wanting to dive deep and experiment with it, it is so important. So, two things I'm telling you. One, it's I firmly believe that video is definitely going to be the way forward. And live streaming is definitely going to be the thing, because you might be able to do a very, very well edited video, and it's all nice with all the color grading and all the stuff. But can you present in real time? And this is what we're talking about. If you cannot present in real time, if you're stiff, like in a way he is, you are gonna be marked as boring and as not engaging enough. So you have to be able to think on your feet. You have to be able to do things in such a way that you are able to, off the top of your head, to be able to address that and to be able to engage and and get your get your audience to want to pay attention to you, right?
The world has changed irrevocably in 4 areas. First, the geopolitical environment which had allowed us to thrive in the last 50 years has changed. The tensions amongst the major powers are increasing. The competition and tension permeates not just politics, but also trade, technology, and security. And because
Well, just look at what's happening right now with the US or at least Donald Trump trying to ban TikTok and WeChat from the USA, and TikTok already being banned in India, for example, it's already showing that there are going to be tensions, there are going to be conflicts, and some of this conflict is not just going to be politics, but it's going also to be in the area of trade, because people are going to be more nationalistic right now. They're going to say that, well, we need to take care of our own people, right? And besides, at the constituents level, that's what people want to hear. That's what people want their government to be able to do that. And so it's not just trade, it's not just politics, but it's going to be technology. And of course, to a certain degree, it's going to be security, because, at the end of the day, it's how much I can safeguard, how much I can, if I'm able to develop the vaccine for COVID-19, am I going to be able to make sure that I ramp up enough production for my own people before I think about exporting, right? And so that's something that really has created that tension. Although in the last 10 to 20 years, for example, we have seen that kind of permeates, and like, Thomas Friedman, what he said, the world is flat. Right now, it's going back in that opposite direction.
The benefits of globalizations have been unevenly distributed. The merits of free trade and global integration are increasingly being questioned. We hope that the geopolitical issues will not spill into open conflict that will further destabilize the rest of the world.
So the aim in here, or the wish here, is that, well, we hope that whatever conflict that is going on is not going to escalate to war. It's not going to escalate to really coming down to having to resort to using force. I mean, for example, if you look at what's going on in America and China, and now provoking China by engaging with Taiwan, that's another issue. So already the world is coming to a standstill. We are all grappling with the after effects, and by no means are we over yet, and of the COVID-19. And yet, if we're going to escalate into a situation whereby there's going to be global conflict, there's going to be war,
we must avoid being caught between the conflicts of major powers, or be stranded in a fragmenting world of trade relations and technological standards. One simple example of the challenges. If we do business in China, we communicate with our Chinese counterparts by WeChat. They can't access WhatsApp. If we do business in the US, we use WhatsApp. WeChat may not even be available in the US in the future. Frictions like this will be inevitable in a more complicated world.
and so this is just going to be the reality of things, and moving forward, it's just going to be one way that countries are going to use that as a way to implement trade barriers. So it's like in the past, if you want to sell your cars to the US, you must make sure that all the cars are left-hand drive. I mean, you can't sell a right-hand drive vehicle in the US, for example. And so those are some ways that countries impose to create artificial or invisible trade barriers. I mean, it goes down to things like whether you use a 3-pin plug or you use a 2-pin, or that sort of thing, right? That sort of things that add additional friction, additional constraint, like NTSC versus PAL. Now, what you're going to see is you're going to see this whole thing being played out all over again, except in the world or in the realm of technology?
The second factor is the way global companies are reorganizing their production and supply chains. Companies are reviewing the need for regional hubs thanks to digital technology and ubiquitous communications. A few has decided to just have one global HQ and a few local centers where their customers, production, or specialized talent are. Manufacturers are reviewing where their factories are sited. Many are shifting from a focus on efficiency or just in time to resilience or just in case. They want to diversify their operations, markets, and supply chains so that they are not dependent on any one site. On one hand,
So this is the reality of things, right? I mean, you do not want to be caught in a situation whereby all your production it's housed in one location and run the risk of, if there is going to be a trade conflict or is there going to be a political conflict between the two countries, then you're caught in between. For example, the great example it's Apple, for instance, right? I mean, arguably most of their devices right now is manufactured in China, and so if China goes into a conflict with the US, what they're going to do is they're going to be caught in between, and that's why diversifying or looking at other means or other places like India to produce the iPhones and the MacBooks, it's definitely the way to go. Now, of course, that can create a huge amount of opportunities. That is if you are able to identify the kind of manufacturing or the kind of level of production that you can attract to your country. And in our case here, it's definitely not going to attract the kind of low to medium type of manufacturing activity because we just don't have the space and we do not have the manpower as well. But what we do have, ideally, it's an educated workforce and a workforce that is able to take on the kind of new challenges. But the problem is that this group of people are increasingly faced with huge and intense competition from their counterparts in any part of the world, because right now, arguably, any company can set up anywhere and or at least have one global HQ and just employ people from anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be, they do not have to be physically there, or they perhaps have some satellite locations whereby it's near to the production or near to the customers.
new investments will come our way. For instance, some manufacturers are thinking of a China plus one strategy and actively looking at ASEAN, including Singapore. On the other hand, some existing investments may diversify away from Singapore, especially where Singapore is the sole manufacturing site for some MNCs. It is a fluid landscape, and we must do everything we can to defend our capabilities and capacities while winning new ones. We must also harness our competitive advantages of legal certainty, intellectual property protection, connectivity, policy consistency and coherence to overcome our constraints in land and labor. The nature of tax and how it affects investment decisions have also changed. The US has already made a major tax overhaul. Many countries are spending more than what they are bringing in, and there is pressure for them to collect more taxes from MNC and to pressure companies to do more in their home countries rather than overseas. Some countries have unilaterally taken measures to tax digital activity and are looking to do more. They are also asserting their influence through global platforms like the OECD. All these will affect companies' investment decisions overseas including in Singapore. The above circumstances provide us opportunities, but also challenges. If we do not adapt quickly, we will be bypassed. Third, the nature of jobs have changed. COVID has shown companies and workers that remote working is possible. Over the years, we have successfully created many jobs here, especially PMET jobs for Singaporeans by having many HQs and factories located here. With remote work, more global opportunities for our workers will come. But it also means that other workers in other countries can do our jobs from their homes. You might have noticed that some jobs in the regional headquarters here are being advertised as can work in Singapore or can work remotely. This will affect many PMET jobs, which can either be done virtually or through automation and AI.
So, well, the reality is that getting a person to do the job, it's increasingly going to be more challenging. And with the advent of technology itself right now, a lot of things can be automated, right? As I was mentioning to you, that the use of no-code tools, right? Tools that, I mean, in the past, if you want to create an automation process itself, you would have to get someone to write codes, and you would have to get someone to really, you know, put up this whole thing for you. But right now, all that is gone, all that it's not needed, because you do not even need to know how to write a single line of code, and you can, and yet you are able to get that automation up and running, right? I mean, that's something that I'm going to show you one of these days.
As the economic pie grows more slowly or contracts, it will cause more societal frictions and tensions between those who have more and those with less, between local and foreigners, and even between Singapore citizens and PRs. The calls for greater protection and more redistribution can be expected in many societies, including
So this
ours.
is at very much at a local level,
We
because
cannot
this is
isolate
where
ourselves from the world.
this is where we are saying
Without
that
the world as our hinterland,
because
and
of that
we will reduce
uneven
Singapore's economic
distribution of
growing
wealth
space
and uneven
limit
distribution in
rather
terms
than
of
expand
recovery,
opportunities
we are
for
definitely going to experience that some
We will need
sectors or
to
people
better
who
take
are
care of those affected
better
by
endowed or
economic
better
and business
able to be
losses.
flexible and better able to
have
be
and
able
we will
to
continue to
adapt
do
to the
this
current
in a
situation and
sustainable
further
way
and beyond.
that is
It's
not
definitely going to
divisive.
benefit compared to
Affirm the
those people
dignity
who
of
can't.
all
And as a result of that, of course, that is going to create some level of tension, because there is going to be societal constraint and societal tension, and that may create further divide in the country itself. And so that's something that at the grassroots level, I think it's something that is really crucial, that we have to put our hands on the ground, our ears on the ground, to really have a better sense of what's going on, and to be able to respond in time, or even anticipate, and to be able to address some of these issues of concern, and to be able to provide opportunity. That being said, I'm not a believer of equality, because I do not believe that there is something called equality. Inevitably, there will be some level of inequality in the economy. But as an economist myself, I always believe that at the end of the day, resources will be allocated to different groups of people, and the resources will go to the ones who are better able to put those resources into use, that will be able to multiply the outcome of that. And hopefully, with that multiplication of outcome or the multiplier effect, that is going to be redistributed amongst the rest of us.
Our social fabric. These tensions, unless well managed, can divide our society. This is not the Asian financial crisis or the global financial crisis where if we hunker down and things will improve in a few months. If we wait it out, we will likely be in worse shape than we are now.
Well, if you've got questions or
Therefore,
any
we
opinions,
must chart a new direction
make sure you drop
now. For
a
very
message or a
different
comment in the
and
comments,
uncertain
and
future.
I'll be more than glad to chat with you
We
on
do
that.
not have all the answers yet, and the ground realities are fast evolving, often without precedents. But we know.
Right. So, my friends, the reality is that things are not going back to the new normal. Things are not going back to the old normal. So, this is the new normal that we're talking about. And B, the other thing really is that we have to be very, very clear in terms of what we're looking at, and whether do we really have the resources, ability, capabilities, and the the know-how to be able to do the kind of work that it's required in this new economy itself. And this kind of brings me back to where we started off with this channel itself and with this whole purpose of this broadcast, because this broadcast was to say that, faced with the situation of COVID-19, what exactly are we going to do about it, given whatever resources and whatever capabilities that we currently have? And how are we able to leverage our expertise, our experience, our knowledge? How are we able to take advantage of the technology that we have that 10 years ago was not even in existence? And how are we able to use that to kind of help us take things to the new level? And my friends, I'm here with you, and I'm definitely on my path, on my journey towards building this 1% 1 minute all things digital, because that is the way to go. If you want to know more, if you want to find out more, make sure you join me. Make sure you check out my website at melvyn.me. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter, because there's going to be more information that I will be sharing with you in the weeks to come. And so with that, I thank you so much for your attention here. And once again, if you have got a question, I know some of you are watching, if you have got questions about what's going to happen, and or if you have an insight or an opinion, share with me. I'll be love to chat with you. I'll love to debate with you if we have to, because I do not profess that I have all the answers or I have all the insights itself. Definitely no one is able to do that. But as a community, as a group of people together, we will be able to do that together. So with that, thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.